And call the meeting of the April 2nd, 2026 TRPA hearings officer to order. It is 2 p.m. My name is Marcia Birch, and I will be serving as the hearings officer today. Item 2 on the agenda is approval. That's actually item 1 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Have there been any changes?
There have not been any changes.
All right, thank you. Next item are public interest comments for no action. I will approve the agenda as it was posted. Sorry. Public interest comments for no action. Any member of the public who wishes to address the hearings officer on any item that is not listed as a public hearing item on the agenda may do so at this time. Public comments on hearing items will be taken at the time those items are heard. The hearings officer is prohibited by law from taking immediate action on or discussing issues raised by the public that are not listed on the agenda. So we'll go ahead and ask for any public interest comments on anything that isn't on the agenda.
So if anybody in the room would like to address the hearings officer, please raise your hand and we'll call on you one at a time.
Items not on the agenda.
Okay, so
So do you want to comment on the public hearing item that can happen after the
which is the development, I guess.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's go ahead online and see if there are any public interest comments.
Okay, so any members of the public online wishing to address the hearings officer, please raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen or by dialing *9 if you've joined by telephone. There are no hands raised to comment.
All right, so I'll go ahead and close the public interest comments and announce appeal rights. Any decision of the hearings officer is appealable to the TRPA governing board. The notice of appeal, which can be found on TRPA's website, and associated fees must be filed within 21 days of the hearings officer's decision. Okay, so that brings us to our public interest, to our public hearing items. And we have one item on the agenda today. It's the new single-family dwelling, 1663 Sawmill Road, El Dorado County, California. Assessor's parcel number 033-180-009. TRPA file number ERSP 2025-0169. And this is Allison. I'm always afraid to pronounce your name. Say it. Borowski. Allison Borowski is our staff member, and she will be presenting today.
Yes, so my name is Allie Borowski, and I am here to talk about the project at 1663 Sawmill Road. This project includes the construction of a new single-family dwelling on a buildable vacant parcel. The new home is 2 stories and approximately 3,500 square feet. This let me take a step back. This parcel is located in the Twin Peaks Plan Area Statement, and single family dwellings are a special use in this plan area statement, which is why we are here today at the hearings officer. The ownership of this parcel has been privately owned since at least 1963 and vacant and undeveloped. So this PowerPoint or this slide shows the development. You can see the new access driveway to the residence. So this gives us an overview of the site plan. Next slide, please. This gives us a street view of the parcel. We can see where the new access driveway will be located and the property marker on the right hand side there to give an idea of the street view of this parcel. Next slide is the location of the home. So you can see the picture on the left has some boulders on the right side. The back of the home will be before those boulders. And the picture on the right shows the big boulder there. The home kind of wraps around that big boulder there. Next slide. And this is a rendering of the home with that large boulder in the front of it and that other boulder behind it. Next slide. So I want to talk about a couple of things here. There's some public concern with this project. And rock climbers have historically used the property to access rock climbing and for bouldering. As you can see here, those black dots are the boulders that are used for bouldering in the area. In the upper left corner, you can see little triangles that those are the rock climbing walls where you would use ropes and things like that. The green area is all federal land, so that would be Forest Service land. You can see directly to the left of this parcel is Forest Service land. The pink coral kind of color, that is state property, so directly to the right or the east of this property is California Tahoe Conservancy land. You can see how maybe 20% of the boulders that are used are on this property, but the remainder stay on public land.
And what is the ownership, south of the parcel?
That's also state, so all the pink is state.
Okay, all of the
Green is Forest Service, and then the gray is private, owned.
Okay,
The parcels to the left, there's actually two there that are privately owned, and both have houses on them.
and is that the same for the gray that's there?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
all private land.
Okay, and that's all included in this plan area statement? Is that in the Twin Peaks area as well, the gray residential there or privately owned?
Good question. I believe it is, but I don't have that on this map.
Okay,
Yeah. So public notice and outreach, TRPA mail notices of the application to property owners within 300 feet of the property. We created a fact sheet and we have some hard copies over there. We did receive over probably 70 comments from the public about this project. And we have responded to everyone who emailed us with the fact sheet, a link to this meeting, and asked for any questions. And so overall, we have reviewed this project. It does meet the rules and regulations of the code. And so we do recommend its approval. And Jack, do you
Yeah,
have some things to share?
yeah, just to add, this is Jack Mensick, TRPA attorney for the record. First of all, we really appreciate the public concern for recreation that we've heard, and we do recognize the issues that are being raised by the climbing community. That said, as we explained in the staff report, the proposed project is an allowable use of private land. It meets all the requirements of the TRPA code, and TRPA's legal team has determined that we do not have the legal authority to require the applicant, the property owner, to provide public access to their private property. That issue of continuing public access to this private parcel is an issue that will have to be resolved between the applicant the property owner, and the public stakeholders outside of TRPA's regulatory purview.
thank you. All right, so I don't have any additional questions at the moment. So I'd like to go ahead and hear from any representatives of the applicant who would like to speak.
Would you like to speak, Tyler?
I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone online?
Just a second, a hand just went up. Let me see if it is. Looks like Stephanie Davis, the property owner.
All right,
Stephanie, go ahead and unmute.
There we go. Can you hear us okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. This is Stephanie speaking, and my husband, Glenn, who is here. I just thank you for this opportunity. I'll just share just a couple of comments, and of course, want to hear from others. But just sharing how much we love Lake Tahoe. When we sold our small place on Kingsbury Grade back in 2016, We remained on the lookout for the perfect place because we knew that Tahoe is where we always wanted to be. And we found it in 2022, lot number 9 on Sawmill Road, now 1663. And as has already been shared, we bought it with the understanding that it was privately owned since at least 1963. The title report nor any of the disclosures mention any public easement. There is no unrecorded easements or use of the land by anyone that does not own the property. And there were also, to our knowledge, no attempts from any group, conservancy or otherwise, to buy the property. So we bought the land in really good faith. We deeply respect the natural beauty that's around and have spent a lot of time and resources ensuring that the project exceeds environmental and planning standards. We only recently learned of the climbing community's concerns. And as I've been pointing out on the map here, there's hundreds of acres that could provide new access. But just want to be really clear that with that said, we have no intention of preventing climbers from passing through our property. It's really important to us that we be respectful owners. We really want to coexist with the community, and our goal will be to work together on what's needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ally, there's another hand raised. Brent Johnson, he's just a member of the public. Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And I will go ahead and open this up for public comment. And we can start here in the room, maybe? Yeah.
Yep, if anyone wants to comment, you can come up to the podium. This is our microphone. And Jessica's gonna put a 3-minute timer up. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Go for it. Please state your name for the record.
Oh, okay. The microphone is.
It's the owl
Yeah, it'll
right
take
here.
it, okay.
Oh,
You just
actually,
actually,
it'll pick you up from there.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Yes, my name's Andy Edwards. I'm here representing the Tahoe Climbing Coalition. And to my knowledge, we were the only organization that brought this development to the attention of the local climbing community. We became aware of it about 5 or 6 weeks ago and kind of distributed the basic information about it at that point, and I think that's what elicited most of the comments that you've received as a result. So we had contact with Glenn and Stephanie, the landowners, and we appreciate their sentiment really in trying to work with the local community at this late stage to try and figure out what to do with it exactly, this situation. We really have, I think, 2 questions. The first is really just that one of process. So in a circumstance like this, where we're looking at a special use designation within a recreational zoning, what is the consultative process with the community for those that have used it in a recreational capacity? There's a long history of climbing on this land, for sure. So that's question 1. The second question is, given the special use designation, what threshold would need to be met for this to be something that would kind of require a little bit more consultation, a process of perhaps pausing the permitting and asking the community about their perspectives? It's really through TRPA, I think, rather than Stephanie and Glenn.
We're happy to address questions. I don't know if it's best to address them as we go or just address them all in bulk at the end after public comment, if in case someone concerns already. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's up to you. If you want to hear more comments or if you want to go ahead and respond. I mean, typically, it's not a situation where there's kind of a question and answer going on. But if you would like to provide, sort of an explanation of, essentially it's the special use findings process. Right. And that's, and now I apologize. There were 2 questions and one was sort of, what is the process for going through the special use analysis, which is essentially making the findings. And the second one was at what level of recreational use would it trigger? And I think Jack has answered that question as it relates to private property.
Yeah, so there's a bit more to explain. So first of all, it's a special use under this area plan. That's why we're here, because special uses require hearings officer approval. And we have to make special use findings, which we did in the staff report. Because, another key thing to understand is that construction of single-family homes under the TRPA code are exempt from environmental review. So this project did not require the preparation of an environmental checklist or any environmental documentation. Even if an environmental checklist had been required, it's not really clear that these particular recreation impacts would have triggered anything under that checklist. And that's because this project our checklist screen for essentially does this project cause a decrease in access to public lands? And I think this project does not, we're talking about public access to a private parcel that is surrounded by abundant public lands. So there's not necessarily a loss of access to public lands. So, even if we had gone through our typical screening for recreation impacts, I think given the unique circumstances of this case, it would not really have triggered anything under our rules.
Yeah, okay, so I guess if I had time to respond.
I believe so. Are you, the timer, I'm sure was running. Oh, there, you did stop.
I stopped it.
You did, okay,
Yeah.
excellent, thank you. She can start it again.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think there's two questions that are still essentially unresolved. So we want to know if there's a failure in the process or if there's a lack of mechanism in the process for public information so that people like us and the community at large, the climbing community, could be aware of the impacts that were likely to result from this development in the first place. So far as I'm aware, that wasn't the case. The second part is, to what extent do you need to remove a public recreational resource from an area that is zoned for recreation before that becomes sufficient to say, this needs a little further consideration and a further consultation with the community? So I think we still need answers on both of those things.
So I can say, as the hearings officer, I will be the one making the findings. With respect to consultation, there is not a consultation requirement. I think what you're asking is, are we required to go out to the public at large and enter into some sort of a consultation process? And there is not a consultation process. We have a notice process for all of these hearings items. And then for a particular project, there are notice requirements for the surrounding areas. So those notice requirements provide the notice. There is not a discrete consultation process. So I think that answers your first question. And with respect to the second question, as far as making findings, this isn't removing a public recreational resource because it is private property. So I don't know if that is directly answering your question, but that is part of the findings.
Yeah, okay. It seems like there are a couple of pieces that are lacking from the process then that could use work. That's a much longer conversation, obviously. But it seems like both of those things would have been desirable, certainly for us, they would have been desirable in this process for the climbing community in Tahoe. I think that probably takes my time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to comment in the room? Okay, if any member of the public online would like to make a comment, please raise your hand in Zoom by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen or dialing *9 if you have called in on your telephone. And we have one hand raised online. Brent Johnson, please unmute to make your comment.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so I'm Brent Johnson with Chase Realty. I represented Stephanie and Jack on the purchase of this lot. And, again, to kind of piggyback on what Stephanie had to say, we were not aware of any, kind of easements, climbing use, or anything like that. I had been by the property many, many times and never saw any of that activity. But I think, the bottom line is, the owners are trying to cooperate and willing to provide access. And I mean, it could be an out of towner that was, going to fence the whole lot off. And I feel like at that point, the concerns may be valid, but with the surrounding, public land and not, being private land with the special use being approved on surrounding, parcels for single family, it just, we can completely understand the concerns, but it just seems like they're doing everything in their power to work with everybody to, to cooperate with access and do with the property what they have the legal right to do with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there are no other hands raised to comment.
Okay. Well, then I will close the public comment period. I don't have any additional questions. Jack has answered my legal questions about, public access on a private parcel. I have reviewed all of the comments. We did receive a lot of comments and I did read all of them. I've looked at the applicable, the plan area requirements, the chapter 21 findings, which are the special use findings that I need to make. And the concern that has been raised by the public is important, and I'm glad that everyone has participated, raised their concern. And it essentially, though, is a concern of the use of a private parcel for recreation. And folks who were using the parcel may not have known that, but it has been in private ownership for a very long time. And I understand that this is part of a much larger sort of recreation area where there are a lot of boulders on public land that are accessible and will continue to be accessible. TRPA does not have the authority or the ability to require a private landowner to allow recreational use on a private parcel. So in terms of those special use findings, I believe that all of those can be made. I'm making those findings. And the analysis describes in the staff report the other residential uses in the area, and this project is consistent with the neighborhood. So I am going to go ahead and take action on the project. And I will approve the required findings, including a finding of no significant effect, and approve the proposed project subject to the conditions in the draft permit. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Can I have a question?
Well, the hearing is over. Is it about this particular item?
Yes, it's about this.
Oh, okay.
I barely can hear you, so I've been missing some of it.
Okay.
But my name is Sandra Keck. I've been living in the area straight since 1986. And I moved back 5 times before that since 72, so I know the area. And I used to climb in the sawmill area in the 2000s for about 10 years and really enjoyed it. It changed my life. My question is, are the new owners gonna fence everything off so that they don't have to pay liability?
Okay, so just a few minutes ago, the owners were commenting and they indicated that they don't intend to prevent the public from passing through to climb.
Okay, but it says on the thing that there's 9 different boulders that are within that property. So is it gonna be skirted outside of that?
I don't know. We don't know the details of that.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, climbing was very important in my life, even though I can't do it anymore. But, I have nephews that grew up here and they love to climb and, you know, not everybody can show up at a meeting. And my other concern was in the newspaper, they didn't even say the time of this meeting, which I thought was a little bit unfair. So that's just a comment. There you
All right.
go.
Thank you. Okay, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.